Qué bellísima película es La increíble vida de Walter Mitty o La vida secreta de Walter Mitty de acuerdo a la traducción que, si no lo sabían, tiene como cada una de las secuencias pensadas como si fuera una fotografía fija, porque además de contarnos una aventura un poco fantástica sobre la vida de este hombre, también es un homenaje a una revista que se encargó de darle lugar a muchos, pero muchos fotógrafos. De esto hablamos con el diseñador de producción Jeff Mann sobre cómo fue hacer esta película y también algunos secretos referidos, por ejemplo, a si Ben Stiller patinaba o no. Todo esto en este informe sobre la vida increíble o la increíble vida de Walter Mitty.
We now return to Mira Akian and Contre with our latest interview.
It wasn't easy at times with the studio. You know, it wasn't a cheap movie to make. It was hard to describe it in a brief description so that, you know, anybody could understand what you were trying to do. It was a little more elusive than that. But you know, we started to kind of unravel it, and, you know, locations played a huge role, obviously, in it. That movie means a whole lot to me and to Ben Stiller. The process of making that movie, you know, started with this script that kind of was more unconventional than anything I'd ever read. Like it actually read like a novella and not like a screenplay. Very kind of lyrical in how it unfolded, and the humor was so specific, and the visuals, and it just was more like a melody than it was a screenplay. If not to be too flowery with my description, but it was like, I was like, this is so great. Like, how do you make this movie? It didn't really present itself in a conventional way.
What's the matter?
I lost a picture of it.
I like mysteries. You should go crack the case.
You know, Ben's a huge like art and photography and film and architecture buff, and it was almost like a love letter to the photograph, the movie.
Yeah.
Because the context of Life magazine kind of closing its doors, and the significance of all the photographers that made their mark through that magazine, or were brought in by the forward-thinking editors of that magazine to you know, document the world through the lens in that magazine. Like, we had this access to the archive, which was mind-blowing. But that's a long-winded way of saying that the composition and kind of consideration of the composition of the framing of that you know, everything that we ended up doing kind of had a still frame kind of compositional aspect to it. And that is a really fun thing to, you know, use as a metric that you're kind of honoring the idea, you know, of what you're trying to do with it. So that, you know, from a visual standpoint, like, there was composition was a huge key, and a lot of the design was motivated by composition and the specificity, and a lot of the locations were motivated by composition. And so that's just one kind of component that was one of our short list of things. Like, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but these are our rules. You know?
Life is about courage and going into the unknown.
The other aspect of the movie was this rare kind of like life and work coming together in this incredibly savory combination, once in a lifetime kind of. I'm in one of the most spectacular places I've ever been, working on something I'm so overjoyed to be involved with. It's not easy, but like the combination of those things, you're just kind of high on the process. So, you know, that Iceland represents a couple of different countries in the movie, and Iceland's not a very big place, believe it or not. The vistas are incredible. I had the amazing opportunity to be scouting probably for at least 20 days, maybe, you know, and really turning over rocks and Google Maps, and let's try to, you know, looking at topography and trying to arrive at this place, and so we could differentiate Afghanistan from Iceland, from Greenland, you know, because that was also, you know, trying to carve those three distinct aesthetics out of that one place was still a challenge to so that they were defined and different. When I say it was like a poetic experience, as I think about it, it is this lyrical memory, you know, for lack, I don't know how else to describe it. The process of the whole movie was kind of like bringing this lyrical story to life.
Did he skate?
Yes, there were a number of circumstances where he was skating, and there were rigs where there were wires that got painted out. So there was a number of circumstances where he was skating, and so but we couldn't let him go freeboarding down the mountain. So it was almost like that there was a travel vehicle with a rig where there were wires, so he could be on the board, and he was always safe if he were to crash. But we had a super famous downhill skateboarder that, you know, kind of had similar body characteristics as Ben, and there was some face replacements and stuff, and a lot of stuff where it's just the double and the helicopter shots and the wide shots and stuff. But it was, you know, it was serious. And when he would lose the board, they'd pull up on the rig, and, you know, there was a lot of, he put himself like in a lot of circumstances, like, you know, he was floating out there in the North Sea, you know, the water was fucking cold.
Where do we land? We know.
You know, he had a dry suit on underneath his wardrobe in the whole kind of propose scene. But he was, you know, for like hours, you know, over the course of time, just floating around, waiting for them to reset. And water work is incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
To line up a shot and to, you know, like everything's obviously moving underneath you. So it's time consuming, and he was willing, you know, it wasn't like, I don't want to do it in a tank. I don't want to, you know, do all this other nonsense. I want to be, you know, out in the ocean so that the vistas are there. And of course we ended up like manipulating waves within an inch of their life in post for the specificity of the frames we used of each shot, you know.